What's going on, everybody? It's Nick Payne with Facemask Fantasy, and as we move into redraft season, we'll profile some players and how we feel about them ahead of the year. If there's any one player you want us to profile, let us know in the comment section, and we'll be sure to cover him. Up today, Tampa Bay Bucks wide receiver Chris Godwin. Godwin is rehabbing from a torn ACL suffered in Week 15 of the 2021 season and is not expected to be ready for Week 1. Prior to the injury, Godwin was already well on his way to a monster season. Through 14 games, he had already set a career high for catches in a single season with 98, also posting 1,100 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. He was a wide receiver 1 in fantasy points per game in all scoring formats for receivers who played at least 14 games. With Tom Brady back in the fold for at least one more year, Godwin would likely have an ADP in the second round of 2022 redraft if healthy. Of course, Godwin's health is the kicker here and casts a bit of a cloud on what to make of him from a fantasy perspective for this season. According to Edwin Porras, an injury analyst for Fantasy Points, Godwin is expected to complete the minimum amount of time for his rehab at the beginning of October. Porras confirms this is the soonest we could see Godwin in 2022, and goes on to suggest there could be additional amount of rehab time needed depending on the overall progress of Godwin's recovery. The positive piece of information is that there wasn't extensive damage uncovered to other ligaments when Dr. James Andrews conducted the surgery at the start of the offseason. The team is obviously hopeful their star receiver will be ready to return sometime in the first half of 2022, but we remain without a timetable a few weeks before training camp. With an ADP around 58 on Underdog Fantasy, drafters are selecting Godwin by the 5th round in best ball leagues. This strategy is fine in best ball since you're building deep rosters and ideally can rely on other players until the second half of the season when Godwin is hopefully ready to contribute at a high level again. But it's risky to be spending a top 60 pick on a player whose timeline to return isn't known. Ultimately, there is a path where I am okay if you decide to take the stash and hope shot on Godwin this year, but the downside is you might not be able to maximize your team's ceiling. In the event you take Godwin in the 5th round, I'd prioritize selecting Russell Gage as well. With a current ADP around 81, Gage can be had about 20 picks later than Godwin. He's likely to fill a very similar role to the one Godwin would have, so he should be a viable plug-and-play for the first month of the season. And if Godwin isn't quite ready or not contributing to the level he's normally able to, you at least have the insurance policy to lean on in Gage. From Week 7 on in 2021, Gage topped 60 yards receiving in 7 of 11 games played. He proved last year he can offer a steady diet of wide receiver 2 stability. Admittedly, this isn't always a strategy I love deploying in redraft because I prefer going after players who I know will be ready Week 1 with my first 6 or 7 picks. But if the vibes on Godwin turn a corner by training camp, he offers wide receiver 1 upside for the second half of the season that you can get 50 to 60 picks into the draft. Pair him with Gage to protect your investment. Just remember, the pressure will be higher for you to hit on subsequent draft picks while you wait on Godwin. And of course, you might be missing out on a healthy player that doesn't necessarily pigeonhole you into a specific strategy in your draft. That's a quick breakdown on the injury recovery for Chris Godwin for the 2022 season. What do you guys think? Put any thoughts in the comment section you have below, and we can have a conversation about this. We also host live streams on our channel each Tuesday and Thursday, all off season long at 6 p.m. Eastern. Come hang out, come get any questions answered that you may have, or feel free to bring up any general fantasy topics you wish to discuss. Till then, this is Nick with Facemask Fantasy. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for listening.